Okay, our beloveds, this is take 3, believe it or not. Another didn't really care for the first one and fell asleep during the second one, so we shall try again. It is now Monday, the beginning of a new work week, but these work weeks no longer look like they used to. They are vastly different because the flow of life has shifted to something that is also vastly different. So while for many of you, your regiment may still look kind of the same, you get up, you go to work, you come home, the energetic flow feels different because the energetic flow for the rest of the world is different. And so while for you it may kind of look and feel the same, for many of you it doesn't. And because you all are psychically connected, this means that everybody else's shift is somehow felt within your own energetic body. So now why do we share this today when we have been sharing for the last 3 months that the first 3 months of the year would be cataclysmic? It is because much of everything that you have known to be true will be no more shortly, because everything is moving to a new platform, a new stratosphere. So here is what we are permitted to tell you this morning, which we weren't even permitted to share last night, because it's all an energetic unveiling. It is your collective desire to move to a better place and to bring peace and harmony and to bring in sovereignty in a way where you will love one another unconditionally, yet you also are permitted to make the decisions for your own bodies, your own lives, your own responsibilities, based on what feels right for you all. So now, what does this really mean? We have sovereignty, which many interpret as not wearing masks. And then we have others who view loving neighbors as being forced vaccinations. And we can tell you that neither of those are what we intend. Sovereignty as it relates to the mask wearing is more along the lines of, if you choose not to wear a mask, then please stay at home. Where you are in a collective place, please be respectful and wear your mask so as not to either infect others or to dismiss their worries or fears that you might infect others. Does that make sense? And as it relates to your love for your neighbor as much as your love for yourself, this again is supposed to be a self-designated process and not one that is imposed upon you. Now we realize the hypocrisy in these statements, the perceived hypocrisy, because here we're saying you can't force somebody to get a vaccine, but you can force them to wear a mask. And what is the difference? Because in either circumstance, you are affecting another human being, and herein lies the difference. Somebody is free to just stay home and not wear the mask, or to limit their exposure to others. But with the vaccine, you are creating an all or none paradigm, and for some people, it is not the right choice for whatever reason. And it is not for you to govern what should be within another person. Does that make sense? And while many of you make the argument for herd immunity, and we understand that, the practical reality is that if you market your product properly, fairly, ethically, with full disclosure, the majority of the people will choose to get the vaccine, and you will get to your herd immunity. And if you don't get to your herd immunity, the question goes to what is wrong with your product, that it does not vibrate in alignment with those who ideally would get it. It's pretty simple. But many of you will refuse to see this because you are in a particular mindset or construct, and that is okay too. But we just want you to realize that karma is karma. And what we mean by that is, for those of you who hang out on the fringe at either end of the spectrum, that there will be karmic backlashes that come back to show you or to teach you where you are not love, where you are authoritarian and dictatorial, or are insensitive to the needs of others. And it is a very nuanced approach, and it's difficult to just make it blanket statements, but we can tell you that as a whole, you all who have great resistance to finding somewhere in the middle will have more lessons thrown at you that you won't enjoy. Sovereignty means you have exclusive control over your body, but where possible, you can generalize, of course, but where possible, you can make minor adjustments in your life to accommodate the needs and the support of others. And where you cannot, that is okay, and not to live with any shame or guilt, as shame or guilt is part of the problem of where you all are coming from at either end of the spectrum. You were either raised in an environment that was so incredibly authoritarian that you do not trust anybody else telling you what to say or do, and therefore you are unwilling to wear the masks, or you have been raised in such an authoritarian household where you believe that others have the right to tell you what to do, and you now, taking that same energy, pass it on to others. But in the past, while this was acceptable because it was part of the patriarchy, in the present it no longer fits. And you will find how these harsh, energetic expressions of self won't serve you well, and you will have more experiences of resistance and lack of generosity in your own life. And until you see that what is coming back looking at you in the mirror is merely you, instead of the world being, we're trying to find the right word here, where you find that the world is simply not playing by your rules because you know best and they don't. You will continue to find resistance in this path until you just want to pull your hair out. And then when you finally surrender and say, I give up, I don't know what else to do, when you surrender is when you will find that this resistance around you goes away, and the world will begin to behave in a way that seems more honorable based on your definition. But more importantly, it will no longer trigger you to be so reactive, whereby you feel the need to force and control what others do. That is the lesson of COVID, to surrender, to go within, to find that peaceful place, and to realize that you cannot save the world with your mind construct. And so we ask you instead to be loving, generous, kind, and to allow others into the conversation as to what this new future should look like, instead of you telling others what you demand that it look like, because that will no longer work in these new energies. So that's our public service announcement today. We wish you a blessed day, and so it is. Namaste.